use the fucking meaning that. I'm not, because we all believe that navigate having universal particularism is who we are. If you deny one essential letter, you're denying the meaning of it. Right? We all have to all through, and that is have these two aspects of being, right? It's one of these. Okay, so I do have to particular, it's some shit that you have a certain amount of, you have other people that you are good at, you have a certain ability, you have kind of general intelligence to solve and be good. Again, what the fuck is that? Other people have other talents that they have integrity and have different things to the world, and maybe make something other people in certain aspects. Somehow that's not good for oncology. You motherfuckers can't do oncology. Because that ain't it. It's like trying to define people or classify people in terms of their height or in terms of how long fucking hair or their musical preferences. It's particularistic shit. Oncology goes to the core of what it is to be human, what it needs to be an object, what it needs to be a number, what it needs to be a work of art, and how to really break this shit.
Because they've already got a way of reaching all of us with the same message. They know plenty about how people respond to television. There's plenty of research about that.
The object doesn't exist in the same way as a piece of equipment. These are different ways of being. They have their own structures, they exist in their own way, and you need to understand them on their own terms instead of trying to reduce one to the other. For example, if you try to reduce Dasein or a human to the being of an object, you're doing a violence against that person in the very essence of their being. They're not a fucking object, they're Dasein. It's kind of comical if you try to treat an object like a human, but the object ain't going to respond like Dasein. You can try to talk to your fucking lamp, and maybe schizophrenics do this. You can try to talk to your lamp like it's a person. It's not going to fucking be a person. Why? Because it exists in a different plane than Dasein. I know this is philosophical shit 101, but you're in philosophy 101 now, motherfucker. So again, take your note for that. All right, so sameness in race. Okay, Nick Land wants to go, oh, the problem with you guys who deny race and want to talk about equality is that you just want to impose sameness on a field of difference. Motherfucker, you do the same thing. You just want to oh, there's white people, and then there's black people, and then there's Asian people. What, you do this 6 times? So instead of me just imposing sameness to say, like, all that 6 times, we do it with 6 groups. Well, okay, if I'm raising a few different, I'll say they're all things related. Like, that particularistic shit ain't shit. I'll just say that the 10 billion people on this fucking planet are different, and that your racial categories are sameness imposed on these groups of differences, which is to say individual human beings. Why are you going to reduce a black man to another black man? Why are you going to reduce a white man to another white man? You're imposing sameness. So what? Because you motherfuckers break the sameness down in 6 big groups, you're somehow champions of difference. Get the fuck out of here.
They're ridiculous job to be done. And these people find themselves watching television and talking on the internet. Millions
but the problem is I don't have a problem saying that.
If that was a problem for the government, there would be a huge job to be done. It's not a problem for the government. It's not a problem at all. The stuff that people are doing that they think is dissent is not meaningful dissent from the point of view of the state. Are you in some way behaving in such a way that the state's order is going to become difficult or impossible to maintain? Are you creating a public order problem of the kind that the state is going to need to respond to?
What's up? How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. What's up? Come on, audience. You can do better than that. We only have one person in the chat. What's going on? Jacob, you're the only person that matters right now. How you doing, Jacob? How should we make this? Folks, let's get it going. Have you smashed the like button yet? Yes? No, I forgot. No, I hate you. Let's kick off the poll, find out how many people just hate us versus how many people forgot. Yeah? This picture on the screen here. Oh, let's put it on the screen so you guys can see it, actually. So check this out. You see this picture right here? Look at these beautiful people. We got Cesar on the far right. Then we got Elton. And then that's me. And then we got Nance. And we got Todd. Not Todd McGowan, for people who don't have eyes on the screen. A different Todd. We got Benjamin, Evan, Ian, Jordan, Mike, and John. But then also in that photo from TUCON, you can also see Kier up against that camera smiling. And look at that. It's Wukas and Alex Sappington. And yeah, so that was a lot of fun, right? Great time. Great time. Great time for those who were there. I hope, I expect that a lot of people got a lot out of it. I think it was not just me. I think it was something very special. So I first of all want to kind of contextualize what I'm about to say by saying these were some of the best days of our lives. Not in any way, shape, or form something to be regretted, and not something for me to come along and dump a giant bucket of ice water over. But I think for people who just had fun and did their own thing, TUCON might have been different for you than how it was for me. Because for me, TUCON was not just supposed to be something that happened during a weekend. It was supposed to be an intervention in space and time itself. We were supposed to be creating an implosion, and that implosion was going to lay the conditions for a new kind of asynchronous simultaneity that would help us do something different than all these other conferences. You notice I don't go to other people's conferences. I don't give a shit about anyone else's conferences. I don't like conferences. TUCON was supposed to be different. And it was different. Look at these people. These people would not be at any other conferences. Maybe a couple of them could get into some other conferences. Obviously, Benjamin here, he is a conference guy. Benjamin goes to lots of conferences. And that's great. Somebody has to do it. And I think the way he sees it is that he speaks to those audiences. I speak to these audiences. And that's all fine, fair, dandy. But the issue is TUCON was supposed to be different. It wasn't supposed to exist as a conference that happens over there. Even the idea of a conference is better than what actually happens at conferences. The idea of an academic journal is better than what happens at most conferences. So I want to explain what that means to me before I engage with the chat again. But I see you here, Graham. Great to have you. I was going to send an email to the people at TUCON, or the participants, all the people who got an email from me last time, the one where I stood on the table and, or Nance gets on the table and goes bang, bang, bang with lunch trays to get your attention and say, hey, it's not over. Okay, well, I tried that and it didn't work. Not only did it not bring everyone in, it actually seemed to do the opposite of what I wanted it to do. So instead of saying TUCON never ended, which is what we did in December when I did my turn seminar, I'm instead going to say it never happened. And I want to talk about why that is. Let's see. So let's start with this. What is a conference? Can you all see this? What is a conference? What is a journal? What is a publisher? I don't care what your definition is right now. I'll find out later. You can let me know. Right now, I'd like to focus on what these things mean to me, and then we can see if we agree, and if we disagree for any kind of significant reason that requires me changing how I use these terms. I'm open to that, but let's play the believing game and go with my understanding for now. A conference is a place where people get on a usually annual basis to talk about a subject matter and to develop a community around the subject matter. For that to occur within academia, that subject matter has to already be well defined, meaning some other school of thought or competing schools of thought have already been around for quite some time, and they have set up an understanding of the situation regarding that subject matter. Okay? Harmless, not just harmless, also great. Let's just say that you want to think about biology. You're like Cadell last, and you're studying lemurs in your undergrad or whatever, in your graduate. I don't know when he was doing it, but it's in underground theory. He talks about it a little bit. So he's studying lemurs. So yeah, of course, if he wants to turn that research that he's doing into knowledge that makes a real contribution to the field that he's in, then he's going to want to specialize on these lemurs enough to then go and say something new about it at a conference. Or he'll publish it in a journal. For people outside of academia, the way that goes is usually you write something for a journal, you present it at a conference. Some conferences exist kind of as a way of getting in the meet space with other people that are reading the same journal. The journal is kind of where the conversation takes place in print. The conference is where the conversation takes place in speech. Though, of course, there's plenty of people who just read off their print, and there's plenty of people who only send print to journal. They don't go to conferences. But also, if you want to succeed in this game, it does require actually meeting real other human beings, spending time with them in the meet space, proving to them that you are the kind of person that they wouldn't mind being around, because it's one thing to say something original or noteworthy about the subject matter in terms of a contribution or an intervention. These are the annoying ways that people talk about it. It's another thing to be a part of the community that is talking about that subject matter. You can think of all kinds of people who might have something to say about the subject matter, but they have zero interest in getting to know the other people who are doing research into that subject matter. They just want to get their idea out, and they want to be seen, they want to be heard. They care about the recognition, maybe they care about the symbolic capital, but they don't actually care about the fucking subject matter itself. And of course, for us, we go a bit bigger brained here. Outside of the subject matter is the fact that No subject matter exists outside. There is no outside the community of truth seekers trying to approximate universal truths about that subject matter. Which is to say, there is no biology or chemistry outside of biologists and chemists checking one another's work and having these conversations in journals and in conferences. Does that make sense? Jacob said, those are some people I really love there, actually, but let's see where this is going. Yeah, I really love some of these people too, Jacob. I really love some of these people too. That's the problem. So it's a problem for me because my idea for TUCON was that it was going to be the first conference that ever happened where everybody saw everybody else's presentations. Everybody gets to hold the floor and everybody gets to actually have their 20 to 30 minute moment. And that, yeah, these presentations are happening in 4 different rooms. So I'll just go ahead and make these 4 squares for the 4 rooms. There were 4 rooms and a main stage. Okay. And the idea was we were going to play stuff from the main stage so that people in the audience could see the stuff that we were playing from the main stage. And people would also be in these rooms with presentations. And that all of this is hybrid, meaning that if you're joining by Zoom, you're able to attend any one of these breakout rooms, but also that within the time of the conference, we would do all of it, meaning me and Nance and Anne and Mikey and Benjamin and everyone would be able to do all of it. Of course, I'm banking on the fact that not everybody is going to literally do all of it, but I at least thought I would be able to cover all of it with Nance, and probably a handful of other people would be able to cover all of it. Instead, what happened was we produced over 24 hours of content in these 4 rooms in the evening of the first night and the morning of the first day of TUCON. And I think we just are humanities bros. We're not exactly math nerds. And so we never really like figured out like how much content that would be. And of course we can't just line it up back to back and watch it like TV, because we also want to do some stuff like panels, and we want to be able to have free flow conversation. And we also want to be able to like leave the venue and go do other stuff. And so it proved to be a lot. It proved to be too much. Not only was it too much, but some people wrote really long pieces that I am personally down to read, but that my compatriots are not down to read. So it's like the idea of like, yeah, I am here to see all of you, and I am here to read all of you. But also, if my compatriots, my inner circle, is not excited to read your piece, it's going to need some more work. And that's not necessarily something that I can help you with, because I'm actually juggling all of the responsibilities at TU except for accounting and programming at this point. And at TUCon, it was more responsibilities than just that, right? So I'm constantly juggling all of these things, and there's 50 different fields and 100 different hats that I'm wearing while I'm juggling. And I'm juggling, or I'm like a one-man band, and then someone else comes along and they start playing something, and I'm like, oh yeah, we could jam together. And so you're on the wavelength, you're on the Dave length, we're kind of harmonizing, we're doing something together. And then I'm like, cool, let's do something with the inner core. And so I bring in Benjamin and Mikey and Anne and Nance, and we're all harmonizing, we're all doing something cool. And then I'm like, okay, let's go for a solo from Rebecca. And then Rebecca starts doing a solo, but then everybody else like walks out of the venue as soon as Rebecca starts doing the solo. And I'm like, wait, why is this happening? This is not working the way that I thought it was going to work. I thought that we would be able to treat this moment at TUCON like something that stays alive after the weekend. So like in the weekend, Nance and I were like, oh shit, we have way more content. There's way more stuff coming up and we're not going to be able to get through all of it. And so we'll have to incorporate some of these presentations into live streams after the fact. And we developed the idea of the turn as a special kind of event for featuring the kind of work that was happening at TUCON. And the idea was, we're still going to publish everybody, but everyone has to undergo the turn. In some cases, people will want supervisions before they undergo the turn because the turn is public. So Sean, as a brave soul, he did the turn first, and then Kier and Ann did supervisions like the week after. But then we haven't done any supervisions or turns since then because of conversations I've had on the back end and things that people have told me that made me realize that people who are my closest affiliates here. So I'm going to go ahead and draw circles all around me, right? So this is me, and these are my people. The people who are directly around me are either time energy proximate, meaning like they are actively in terms of their time energy and their attention closest to me, meaning that they've been around that week. Or they're people with whom I've established some kind of a working relationship with. We could call it a wavelength that is kind of, it's like a known variable, right? And so Mikey would be someone who's very new to work, or sorry, Benjamin would be someone who's very new to work with. And so we're still kind of figuring out what is our wavelength but whereas Mikey, I've been through it with him on and off, up and down, in and out. We've been going for over 10 years. I have a pretty good sense for where Mikey's at and when things are going on, so he's not really able to participate. And I also know when he's really busy with things or whatever, like I know what he trusts me on. So I also know when I have to consult with him, right? Because Sean was talking about, well, is the thing that makes Theory Underground special the sole proprietorship? And I hate that language because this is not a publicly traded corporation, nor is it a non-government organization. It's not a nonprofit. Yes, it is an LLC, but that's just so that if people try to sue me, I can have some space so that I don't get ruined. It's just the stupid LLC that gets ruined. The sole proprietorship thing is not a good way of framing it, though, because even though it's correct, the issue is that if Mikey's unhappy, I have to change things, right? If Mikey's unhappy, I'm unhappy. If Ann's unhappy, I'm unhappy. But also, if I'm unhappy, you better fucking bet they're going to be unhappy. So like that's family. Like family isn't just like a business. It's like, yeah, well, we all have to survive. We all want to thrive, but we're also going to have to be in each other's corners, rooting for one another. And we're going to have to show up sometimes for one another in ways that might not be appropriate in a standard workplace. And so the lines get a little weird and gray, and it takes a lot of time to navigate all of that. And right now, I have a lot of people around me, and there's a lot of different kinds of wavelengths. And what I was thinking was we would be able to have the turn become like this opening within which we can all take turns appearing so that we can all do quality assurance, mutual intelligibility checks on our work. But if somebody at the core doesn't want to read you, there's really nothing I can do about that. If someone at the core just considers you a student and they don't really think of you as a fellow traveler, if they're not excited to read you, I don't know what to do about that. There's really nothing I can do about that. Evan, that's Jacob. Already said, damn, discourse constituting objects. Yeah. Oh, what's up, Jack? Good to see you. I don't know if, Jack, that you noticed, but at the beginning of this, I had a cacophony of sounds. I was doing some noise. And one of the things I was doing was looping a clip made by Spencer and a clip made by you. So shout out to the clipping team here at Theory Underground. We got Ian, Jack, and Spencer taking the initiative to head up the clipping at TU, which is awesome. That's one of those things, it's like a way of helping where it's like you can kind of do it and then never do it again, but you still helped. You can use your random bits of energy to potentially do something lasting. So I miscalculated the other way that everyone else was participating. I miscalculated the way that people were thinking about it. I miscalculated the time constraints. I miscalculated how busy people would be and swept up along by everything outside of TUCON. I miscalculated what other people mean when they say they're down for the cause. There's a lot of things that are miscalculations, but that's literally just what dialing it in is all about. That's what calibrating your gut sense for the possible or the modal. That's what it's all about, right? All we have is our modal sense for what's possible versus what's necessary versus what's not necessary, which is to say contingent, right? That's all we have. Well, we have that in language, in relationships, in trust that can be built. And that trust obviously can be dialed in to a person's strengths. And different people have different strengths in terms of the labor that they can give or the drive that they are I'll say, taken over by, right? To say that TUCON never happened, though, is to say that I went from being like, okay, well, TUCON happened, and now it doesn't seem like we're all going to be able to get back on the same wavelength or the same page and actually go over all of this material. So I need to get everyone to think about it differently. So then I did the Turn seminar. And in the Turn seminar, I really went with this idea of we imploded space and time. We are doing an experiment in asynchronous simultaneity. We are mutually constituting something here. Mosquitoes, frozen in amber. We are able to do this thing. I was hyping that up and trying to build the idea of the Turn as an event around this idea of having this kind of clearing within which a person's work can be read seriously and then engaged. But there's a special thing that separates Sean from someone like Jacob or Evan or anyone else in this chat, anyone else who is participating in TUCON. And that's that Sean never had to DM me to get me to look at his work. he established a relationship with Mikey. And he managed to do it without being annoying. People think that the subject matter exists outside of relationships, and therefore it doesn't matter if you're annoying. As long as you say something true or original, everyone has to care. It's wrong. It's wrong. You'll be forgotten by history. You have to actually wrap your presentation in personality. The gift wrapping of your contribution is your personality, and your ability to get that gift to people who will actually take it seriously and open it and go, ooh, ah, at the contents requires you actually being personable enough, interesting enough to make Mikey come to me and say, Dave, you really got to read this piece. It's so good. And at that point, I don't even need to read it. I'll publish it. If Mikey thinks that, I'll publish it. Is how so I didn't need to finish Sean's piece. I did. I love his piece. The piece in Underground Theory is one of my favorite pieces. It's fantastic. But I didn't need to read it to know that I would stand behind it because Mikey was so gung-ho about it. The same thing is true with Anne and Nance and Benjamin. So the problem with TUCON, from Benjamin's standpoint, is that these are like my students. They're my people. He's going to bring his people into Theory Underground, and he's going to work with his people. The people he does supervisions with will be people who've read or who are following his course and his seminars. That's not how I always imagined it. I thought it would be a little different. I thought that he would be holding space for the students at TU. I thought that he would be reading everybody at least up to a certain number per week, and I thought he would be pretty motivated to take those reins and lead that charge. But at this point, I think he's done one supervision outside of the session that he did to kind of show me and Anne and Kier and Nance what he does. And so it's just not working out the way I thought it would. If you can't get Benjamin excited about your piece, well, then you're going to have to get Mikey excited about your piece. If you can't get Mikey or Benjamin excited about your piece, you're going to have to try to get Anne excited about your piece. If you can't get Anne excited about your piece, you're going to have to get Nance excited about your piece. Good luck. None of them are easy people to communicate with. How do you think I feel? Jesus fucking Christ. They're not easy people to keep up with. And I'm not an easy person to keep up with. This is a real organic process. There is no fucking review board. There is no blind peer review. There is no committee. And this isn't some pay to publish bullshit where by showing up or being a subscriber, you're in it and you're going to get published. It just doesn't work that way. And not only does it not work that way, I wouldn't want it to work that way. I fucking hate pay to publish bullshit, man. And the thing is there's a lot of people publishing in academic journals who would go, oh yeah, I hate pay to publish journals. Those are so terrible. But what they're doing is basically pay to publish. No, they don't pay any actual money to publish, but they brown nose the fuck out of people at conferences so that they can work their way in just so that they can have their tentacles in there. And yeah, a lot of people have their tentacles around me right now. And a good quality assurance check is that you're vetted by the people who I actually would want to read something with if they were excited about it. So there are a bunch of people from TUCON that I'm excited about, that I'll stand behind, that I'll back, and that I'll push forward into this next volume. But I am having to really step back and just realize there's a lot of people who think that it's like if you pay for a flight and then you smooze it up a little bit, you're in, right? Like, now, a lot of people, that's not the case. They're just busy people, all right? So they come to TUCON and then they'd happily come a year later, but they've got life outside of that and they're busy doing their life outside of that. Cool. That's sort of like a weekender sort of approach, but I'm not trying to work with people like that. I don't really care about these outliers. I care about the people who are going to take the time to read the people that are selected and engage seriously with them and engage seriously with one another's presentations at the actual event and continue that outside of the parameters of the weekend. A lot of people like bring their best selves to the weekend and then they disappear for 3 months and think that everything's the same and that it's all going to be fine and that the publishing will continue on without their participation. And it's just simply not true. There are the people who understand that it is not a conference, that it is not a tour, that it is not a MSTU, that it is not a podcast, that it is actually a little bit more like what we've been calling the MSTURCon, which is the dredge. If we want to get super esoteric, with the MSTURCon, MSTU, Epic Marathon Stream, Theory Underground, but also the word tour and also the word con for conference. Yeah, the MSTURCon is all part of the same thing. It's what's happening here in the moment. And in the moment, we try to reconstitute what we've done over the last couple of years. And I try to do it with whoever's here for that. Today, that was David Ruiz, Rebecca Prentice, Kerem Toyamir, and Nance. Oh, and Will Proudler, of course. They're the ones who actually did the first assignment that I gave everyone at the beginning of this year. A lot of people didn't even come to my first seminar. Treated it like it's just some Zoom call. Do you think you're going to get published? You treat my fucking seminar like it's some Zoom call that you could just skip out on? No. Fucking obviously not. And you think just showing up and nodding or laughing or keeping your camera off and doing other things is enough? No. So it is pay to publish in a certain sense. It's called pay attention to publish. Yeah, pay attention to publish. I've built this entire thing around busy people's schedules to try to make it so you can cut yourself in on it. But I got all these people who just care about their own little personal media brands and projects. And I'm like, I don't fucking care about you as a student. I care about you as a fellow traveler, but you're not a fellow traveler if you're not doing quality assurance checks on the actual threads that we're weaving here. In the moment, on a regular basis. Every fucking weekend is a new, attempt at reconstituting the moment as we weave the base braid at TU. And yeah, there's just people are too busy, I guess, but that's fine. You're not busier than me, motherfuckers. Not a goddamn one of you. So no, there's not an amount of money you could pay, but you would actually have to scrounge up the loose change of time energy and actually kind of build your week around TU to be a part of this community of truth seekers trying to flesh out the subject matter. And if you don't do that, and actually try to develop relationships with the people who are closest to me on a weekly basis, if you don't make them want to read you, then how the fuck would I be able to make them want to read you? You want me to try to sell you to them? I mean, Benjamin and Anne were going to lead up the publishing side of this, but neither of them are excited to read most of the pieces. Neither one of them. They like the idea of it, but they've not been seduced yet. And I'm not going to sit here and try to convince them. And so TUCON never happened, as far as I'm concerned. We're going to have to do something better, and we're going to have to do something different. A lot more thought is going to have to go into it. Graham said, I am a disappearer. Jacob said, I don't subscribe at the level where I can arrange supervisions. Are there a lot of folks who are gold and platinum who are not asking for those sessions. Jacob, there are people who are subscribed at those levels who are not participating at those levels. But also there were some people grandfathered in who have that access and they've not taken advantage of it. You better bet by the time tour is over, if I haven't seen them change up and actually take advantage of it, yeah, they're probably just going to lose that grandfather status. They're probably going to lose those scholarships. Darren said, I am also a disappearer. The Vanishing Act is what we're talking about. There's a lot of people doing the Vanishing Act. And then I'm like left holding the bag, and I've got like 5 people who are there for it. And that's fine. I'll write books with those 5 people. That's what it boils down to. TUCON is not like by showing up, you've officially paid to publish. Now you're in on it. Yeah, it's cool that you spent the money and took off the time to actually be there. But it's one thing to show up and be a scene kid at a concert, or even to be a performing band and play your set and then walk away and never develop relationships with those other bands. Yeah, that's one thing. And it's another to do this sort of ground floor thing that we're doing. They're very different levels. If we were building this for academics, then we would not build it around the idea that there is a ground floor where there's stuff happening on a weekly basis. We would be instead building it around people having full-time teaching gigs at universities. I'm trying to build this around people who can prioritize this outside of work. And if your job makes it impossible to participate, I don't feel resentful towards you. I don't feel bitter. I feel nothing but an endless ocean of empathy for you. And obviously that is the sort of tidal force of everything I do, is that sense of how fucking unfair it is that you're not able to participate, that you're not able to think, that you're not able to take action in the world in a concerted, strategic way that would be informed by having an actual basis in the situation, right? Like that's terrible. That's my situation as well. We're all there. We're all within the black box. We're all within this endless circle jerk of interpretation. We're all swirling around in the churn of the fucking rototiller at the end of history, just chomping up everybody's time and energy into little fractured pieces of bullshit. Swirling between these points, right, that I always use A, B, and C to represent, but we're talking about ambiguity and non-committal curiosity and idle chatter, just swirling. Now this, now this, now this, now this. TMI, FOMO, ADHD, post, class, fractured, mass. This is where we're at. This is what's going on. I'm sympathetic. You're working. You have a lot of stuff demanding a lot from you. You're not cut out of the picture. The picture hasn't even been painted yet. We will figure out how to loop in people who can only attend something once a year and who only have time for like a quarterly update. You know, as we get bigger and I have to figure out how to loop in working professionals, it's going to get more and more complicated. But like, I've got people who've come in the last month who are like, Dave, how do we do this? How do we do this? How do we do this? And it's just like, just show the fuck up. Like, I'm so sick and fucking tired of people, like, it's like, watch the fucking shit, dude. Just watch it. But if you want to show up, show up. So, yeah, so TUCON never happened. I'll cross it out. We'll try again. In the meantime, there's going to be a book published called TUCON Never Happened. All submissions for it are due March 1st. People are technically welcome to submit things, but if you have not been regularly attending seminars and courses with me specifically, then you're going to have to find someone else at TU to sell me on your piece. Yeah, if you think someone else's seminar is more important than mine, then get that person to sell me on your piece. How about that? Thanks, everybody. Is there anything else I want to say about this? Anything else I'm trying to say about this?
That's what you...
No, I think that's it.
We cannot do direct revolution, but the only way to lay the foundation for it is to do what you are doing to move the underground. It's a theoretically correct title.
Theory Underground exists to cultivate the conditions necessary for a working-class intellectual renaissance that goes beyond old political categories or other identitarian niches. At TU, autodidact workers with earbuds and professionals who see no future in existing institutions or movements.
Pausing so I can read Darren's fantastic comment here. He said, watch it as it comes up. Slipstream into what is happening now. The past is past and the future might never happen. Just come on in. Yeah. Oh, and so I'll also go ahead and say some of the people who will be published in this upcoming volume include Wukos and Will and Slavoj Žižek, Nance. There's a couple others, including Rebecca and Ruiz and Kerem. There's a couple others that I'm not going to name right now. Just get at me. You either know I care about your writing and I'm here for it, or you are uncertain, in which case you probably need to sell someone else on this. And yes, I want you to bother Benjamin. I want you to make Benjamin get in your corner and try to set up something so that he's like, Dave, let's do something. I really want to talk about this person's piece. I want Mikey to do that again. The last time he did that was for Sean. That's why Sean was the first person up at the turn. Yeah, I've got people too. But, I've got my people that I could probably sell Mikey and Benjamin and Ann and Nance on. Like Ruiz and Will. But, it's proximity, guys. It's the people who are around and who are keeping up with the threads and are trying their best to get a grasp on them and actually do something with that. I don't think that this is actually that unique. I think that even if you were just doing a standard academic journal or conference, it's not enough to go around brown-nosing people. You actually have to read their work and show some kind of an interest in it. And I didn't realize so many of my collaborators didn't take seriously the people on the ground floor until I actually tried to get them all to read it and do the turn with me. And now I know the truth. And it's just reality. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just reality. So let's be realists and let's get after it.
And professionals who see no future in existing institutions or movements are able to chat and develop an understanding of the situation we are in.
If you subscribe at theoryunderground.com, you'll get access to a package of courses, including my Intro to Fault Line Theory, which includes Intro to Nick Land and Intro to Slavoj Žižek. These courses are being woven with the 3 courses that take place on a month-to-month basis, spread out throughout the year of 2025. Those courses are 12 Core Concepts and the Fundamental Problems with the Situation Today with social theorist David McKerracher, 12 Essential Political Thinkers with political theorist Benjamin Studebaker, and The Philosophy of Nature with philosopher Nina Power.
The way these all get woven together at a deeper and more meta level is through the ongoing research seminars led by David McKerracher, Benjamin Studebaker, and Michael Downs, where they engage with one another's work by sharing developments from their own perspectives, theory, and research.
If you subscribe at higher levels and support our work, we'll support your development with bespoke teaching. Alone and unaided, we struggle to grasp our situation in its fullness and formulate a meaningful response. By working together and pooling our energies, we can do better. Join us at theoryunderground.com/subscribe.
There'll be two kinds of people in 10 years. Those who said, I knew all along Theory Underground was going to make this huge difference. Those are the people that are like Nance, who were on the sidelines at one point and then said, nah, I'm going to get in. I'm going to roll up my sleeves and I'm going to go hard. And then there's another kind of person, a person who waits in the wings, collects receipts, and who will say in 10 years, oh yeah, I was there. I saw that happen. And then they'll gossip monger. Listen, if you want to get involved, get involved. But if you're going to sit there in the bleachers, well, here's some popcorn. I hope you have fun.